They're doing the same thing here once again with Mozasa leading the charge. Let's not forget how impactful Fat on that Lucio was. His speed boost to help dodge the shadow coming out of the other side was immensely impactful against Giganti. Let's see if he can echo the same thing in this game against CIS Hope.
Mirror composition for both of these teams as they kick off on to Control Center. Not Control Center, Night Market. Already getting the maps mixed up.
Gardens.
On to the point already. Couldn't even get it right that time around. Great start. Brewston's already getting the first kill though, right to highlight that man as Sharik's being removed, and he goes for the second onto Kenzie. 1 point, they're taking control of the momentum and getting control of the point to kick things off.
That was just very, very big aggression. Aggression I think CIS Hope didn't strictly expect there, because the charge that came through, Holt got a big stun down. That saw the front line crumble. And what were we talking about, Tridd, outside before this game started? We said our big thing to watch today was the front lines of either side. Which shield or which Reinhardt falls first? In this case, it was Sharik who drops it, but look at the ult charges for both sides. Both sets of tanks got a lot of charge out of that one. And Unfix is actually on a higher charge than Frost right now, so his bubble's definitely paying off in that last fight.
Front door seems to be bolted. They're going to try and go in through the back. Frost and Malzahsa holding that line with the Zarya. He's pushing forward, got the shield. Huge shatter from Sharik. Knocks them all on their back. And CIS Hope, they're going to roll over and get themselves that flip.
This is going to happen time and time again. As soon as the front line falls, you're going to see the rest of the team get bowled over thanks to the Lucio speed boost. 1 point there pushed a bit early. You saw when Malzahsa got knocked back, Frost was there with the shield to stop him taking any further damage. So they thought, right, now's our go time, let's burst forward. And while CIS Hope, they had the shadow waiting. Well played and great timing from Sharik.
Ult usage seems to be in favor of CIS Hope, obviously barring, no, even including Sharik. So they're going to move around onto the point, but they've got themselves that advantage for when 1 point try and get control of the capture. Moving into the point, is already locked up Chow, but no one's going to be falling down. Both rallies popped. Shatter coming out from Sharik again. Multi-man, and it really just set CIS Hope to roll over them yet again.
It's kind of funny because yesterday in some of our series, these fights were lasting about 40 to 45 seconds when it came around to the 3-3, especially on Gardens, on Oasis. This time around, they are ending in literally about 5 seconds. The teams are just that quick to execute, but both ultimates are coming online for both sides. CIS Hope still with the slight advantage. That sound barrier and trans, the trans especially, is going to be huge, as 1 point with Scalar, they're still only sat at 53%.
Got a grab and a self-destruct in their pocket as well, so it could be big for them. Using the Transcendence early, Graviton Surge is going to pour 1 point together. Fat's in the middle, can't drop the sound barrier. They're going to take it as a wipe, 60%, and it's a team kill for CIS Hope.
Beautiful execution. They mentioned on the desk about how good these guys were last week in terms of pulling off their combos, knowing how many ults to commit to a fight. In that case, they only went through three. In fact, only through two, I was going to say. They went through three, but they still have the sound barrier and the shadow online once again. 1 point coming in with an attack with 5 online, though. This should be their fight unless something goes catastrophically wrong.
Well, they've got a sound barrier, and Sharik's shatters have been on point so far, so more of the same will give them that. It's going to go straight into Malzasa's shield this time around, so they're firing blanks at this point, waiting off. Fat going to get the sound wave kill, and that's the cue for 1 point to move in. Double self-destruct for Bruce and taking out main and unfixed, and there's going to be a flip at 95-96% for 1 point.
CIS Hope burned crucial ults in that fight as well, but just didn't manage to get the full cap back, so now they're the ones down on ultimates, and 1 point are in control. You can kind of see how this plays out as just a big... It's almost a big 1v1 at all times because all team members play together as a group of 6. There's no flanks coming through. There's no single DPS popping off. It's all about team coordination and synergy, which is what you would hope out of CIS Hope is their key strength.
Well, they've got a sound barrier to use. Just going to use the amp it up as they move in. Just holding onto it. They're going to use it as they go through the door. Answered by a Transcendence and a sound barrier. It's a double commitment for 1 point. They have to win this fight. Otherwise, they're going to lose control again. Shatter from the backside is going to knock down Mozasa, and Horfix going to follow up to Kenzie. Sharik again, this time with the Foss cleanup. And Kenzie's going to take out Scalar. Just need to get rid of the Lucio. They're going to flip it at 95%. 1 point, if they're fast, they might be able to contest.
They might have to change off here. Yep, Frost going to go into the Tracer just to try and touch the point, but I don't think they're going to have time to make this one because they're going to stall them out.
No one can get to that point. Unfixed just going to be there, minding the balcony, making sure no one can jump over the pond. CIS Hope taking the first round.
The game of small margins is still very much so the same result for 1 point as they had against Giganti. Performed admirably in the first fight, but in the follow-up fights you can see the experience, the seasoned veterans on the other side coming into effect, using the correct number of ults, getting the right positioning down, because in one of those fights, Chow immediately moved off to the side when he knew ults were coming back through. He was basically free-firing the whole time onto the Rhine in the front line, and there was no response to him.
Moving on to the second round, onto Night Market. And 1 point,
again,
already round down. What are you saying again? What's the again about
They're both running 3-3, but again, this is another map that you see a lot of Pharah and especially Widowmaker on. Both teams like, Nah, screw that. It's all about the 3-3.
If they want to get down and dirty and play the tank fight with CIS Hope, I don't know if that's the best strategy for them. CIS Hope have some of the best tank play in the league, and it's been evident so far on the previous round. Now we're into the current one. Round number 2, Sharek going low. He's getting a lot of support from his supports to heal him up. That to get the first kill. The healing wasn't enough. Eng going to turn it around to Malzasa, so the Lucios are breaking down these tank walls. And Chow, now in the face of Frost, they're nearly going to get the spray down, but it's Unfixed to get the kill. CIS Hope have the man advantage. They just need to clean up and get control of the point.
Really, really minor little advantages going across to either side there, and you can see straight away with the first kills in that fight being the Reinhardts, it was all about bringing down that key front line. That's their focus every time. They know that that is the backbone of both of these teams, and if they can make it collapse on one side, as we saw in the last round, they're just going to steamroll through and clear up.
I do appreciate the effort from Fat before he went for the reset. He did try and get the environmental kill. He was a little bit delayed on that one, so they're going to go for the reset instead.
One.PoinT have done something interesting here and changed out to playing the Zen, and this is something I've criticized Eagle Gaming for in the past, where they do not pick up a Moira with a 3-3 comp, but it does enable you to melt a target down very quickly by trading off your own healing. They've got to pick a target and go for it.
But the defensive ultimate can come into play. That's what One.PoinT need. The charge through, and Chow's going to clean up because Sharek was there with the on-point charge.
CIS Hope really showing their experience, but already with a nice big stall out coming through onto Bruce. No environmental for you, bit of a bunny hop there. Out for Diva, but I think he's going to go off.
I think he got Soundwave, Eng pointed upwards and gave him a nice little double jump boost for him to get off the edge eventually. But the stall is going to take effect, going to add a couple of percentage to CIS's Hope already growing lead.
Yeah, back onto that Zenyatta. I'm never sold on that in the 3-3 lineup. I can appreciate what the intent is, but you lose so much healing. How are they going to try and make it work? Here come all the ultimates coming out, Tridd.
Speaking of Zenyatta, they've already lost him. Shatter going to fall down. Horfik will stay up, but the rest of his team's going to get dropped down. Frost staying alive for now, but he's going to drop down to Sharek. Too much pressure from the tank line. They're chasing him all the way back to the spawn room. CIS Hope, they're feeling confident on this first map.
The real question now for One.PoinT, who are a bit of a very tank-dominant team. They love playing tanks more than anything else. What's their response here? We spoke a lot last season about teams who fell back to quad tank as a last resort. What did you play when it wasn't working? And for a lot of them, it was to continue trying to run quad tank as the response, and it just never worked out for them. You're going to see their character really tested in the next few maps.
It only really worked out for them when they got control of their ultimates. And Scalar's about to get that Transcendence. Double support ultimate might be able to flip this over for One.PoinT, assuming they can get it together and get onto that point. So the first one being dropped. Fat dropping the sound barrier initially to get everyone onto the point. They're trading kills. Graviton Surge gets no one, unfortunately. It's going to be locked out outside that gate. One.PoinT still going to get on the point. They've got the man advantage, but here comes CIS Hope to contest them and stop the point from flipping. Malzasa going very low, but Chow's about to get demeched, forces out the self-destruct. Nice sidestep to avoid the shatter, keep himself in the fight, but it's Frost going down. Unfixed, still playing Horfik. It's time for a Graviton Surge of their own. This time the team's there to back it all up. CIS Hope aren't letting this get flipped. Overtime's going to go down. CIS Hope take Lijiang Tower 2-0.
Unfixed with some very dominating Zarya play throughout, and you spoke about your boy Bruce, but of course on the other side you're dealing with one of our best DPS of last season, one of the best contributors to quad tank. It was Unfixed, and he shows us a real masterclass there as well. Sharek very rarely dying. A lot of that is going to come down to the shields being provided by the Zarya. One.PoinT have got to change things up now as well. CIS Hope in a very, very dominating driving seat, and they're showing they're here to mean business.
And I think it also touches on what you said about the lack of healing that comes out from the Zenyatta option. Yes, it does bring other things to different areas, but it's all about the healing when you have such a tank-reliant composition.
It was a real struggle for them, and to be honest with you, sticking on Moira, in my opinion, would have been a bit of a safer bet for them. Again, I appreciate the intent, but you are never going to win a long, drawn-out 3v3, or 3-3 versus 3-3 with the Zenyatta on side.
Let's not draw out this outro any longer. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you map number 2. Well, OnePoint's logo may look like the question, but the only question that's on my mind at the moment is, can they come back into this series after a rather dominant first map showing from CIS Hope?
Very, very dominant first round, you've got to say. Well, first couple of rounds, you would say on Oasis. First map definitely being very decisive towards their side. I think we saw maybe 2 fights won by OnePoint across both of them, which kind of indicates to you just how dominant the tank play is coming out of CIS so far. And we had a bit of a chat, and you came up with a very nice analogy as a way to describe Sharek, and that is that he is a walking graviton surge. He draws so much attention and focus. To be fair, both main tanks did. They were dying first in any fights which they lost, which is a sign the other side acknowledged that shield has got to go down if we're going to win this fight. So it was all stuns, all CC, everything we've got, throw at the main tank.
Absolutely, and well, there's nothing else to be expected from that when these guys are the linchpin of the compositions, especially when you're running a 3-3. You need that protection for your supports on the back line, and everyone really funnels all the resources into the Reinhardt players. Yeah, my voice just kind of went then a little bit. Good thing clear my throat.
Good thing it was at the end of a sentence, eh? What I'd like to see on this next map, though, is OnePoint change it up. It's quite evident that in these 3-3 battles, you are not going to convincingly win. Heading into Icon Mold, that gives a fantastic opportunity for it. We've seen things like Widowmakers, triple DPS, Farah's ruling the roost. We even got blessed by Asking's McCree yesterday on this map as well. So there are opportunities for seemingly any DPS to make an appearance, for all kinds of tank setups to come through as well. Now's the time to show your flexibility, and that's been a criticism of OnePoint, is that they are a tank-heavy team. We've seen Horthic play an incredible Farah before, and Frost Tracer, with the harassment that he's brought through, it's no wonder they're currently the 2 picks they're hovering over.
Yeah, nice to see some more DPS-orientated compositions. As much as I can love a 3-3 GOATS composition, I can't see it for an entire series, Des, especially when we're having different maps being pulled out. Unfixed Farah against Horfixed Farah. That's going to be a matchup I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we always speak about King of the Hill maps. Yesterday, there were 3 3-1 series, and we always said it's not so much a write-off in the first series, because of course it counts towards map wins and the eventual series victory, but it was so difficult because often a team would win the first map on Oasis or Lijiang Tower, and then in the next map, they would come back and just completely turn things around the other way. So it was a very not telling map in a way, just trying to hide a lot of things away. We've had the 3-3 fest now where both teams just scrapped it out for a good few minutes. Now you get to get into the real meat and potatoes of the series, which is on the non-Koth maps.
Last season it was 4 Overwatch, this time it's 3-1 Overwatch. Doesn't even make sense anymore. I know, but you know what I mean, Des. It's 3-1 seemed to be the scoreline of the season, whereas it's 4-0 last time around. Just shows that these teams are able to match up a little bit better on certain archetypes. Just need to raise the consistency across the board.
Well, if we're going to see OnePoint take a point, it's probably going to be one in this series, with CIS Hope already off to a flying start. Horthic immediately scouting out the comp he was against, switched over to make sure his team were running full dive. They were so worried, I think, of Kenzie on that Widow, as well as the Tracer and the Farah, the triple DPS coming out of CIS Hope. They thought, right, let's do what happened yesterday, let's run straight through the supports. That's exactly what's happened.
OnePoint having absolutely no issues cutting through CIS Hope, so instead of being demotivated by a one-map stomping, they come back at it pretty strong.
We saw this yesterday for British Hurricane when they were running a triple DPS setup on the first point. The other team played dive and just literally ignored all the DPS, dove straight onto the 2 supports in the back building, eliminated them. That was the end of their defense. You've just seen exactly the same thing happen here.
Well, Unfixed taking to the sky, nearly got that barrage, and well, he's one of the more conservative Farahs with his ult usage. He understands the immobility that comes into play when you use that ultimate. Just going to keep peppering enemies from above. Brucer moving forward, looking for the dive. He's there, completely being ignored. Going to throw out the barrage. No one's focusing him until Fat comes in with the battle mercy. He only gets a D-mech, but that relieves some of the pressure for Sharek to pick up the kill. The rest of OnePoint, they're still doing work, and they got the payload in motion to boot.
Yeah, Bruce in there completely ignoring and disrespecting Unfixed, I feel, by not paying him any attention. He knew what he was capable of, but instead focused on the tank, which, yeah, is the point of a dive. But if there's a Farah above you, and likelihood is with Unfixed, he's going to have his ultimate online. This guy's very accurate with his rockets. You can't ignore him.
Chow going to take out Malzaza, and Kenzie's moving forward on that Widowmaker. Missing the first couple of shots, and looks like Horfix already got his number, knows exactly where he is, so we'll throw a few shurikens out. But Fat feeling the burn from those rockets, as Unfix going to take him out from quite a bit of distance. OnePoint need to reset here. They've got the payload about halfway between the spawns, so they're not going to be able to just slowly encroach on this one. Going to have to get a relatively clean wipe and start taking some advantages.
But they do have ultimates coming online here, Tridd. This is where Dive really excels. Horthic nearly getting dinged out there, and Scalar's already gone.
Well, he was dinged off the map, forcing out the resurrection. The protection areas from Malzaza with the bubble shield, they're all going through the interior, trying to negate the effect Unfixed can have on the map until they all emerge. You can see Frost getting in the face. Nearly got that pulse bomb. Horfix finds Sharek. Kenzie taking out Scalar again. He really has an axe to grind against Lucio today. He's going to go up high, looking for the angle. Everyone's dropping back down to the low, but Frost is still being that nuisance, that irritation, giving his team a lot of free mobility because Kenzie can't scope them out.
And 1Point has slowed down here, but they're still yet to really bring out the combo. Malzahar did burn his ultimate earlier on, so they'll be without that Primal Rage for this dive, but they have the double DPS online. Both support ultimates are coming up, and they've got the self-destruct. They can afford to take this a bit slower after how quickly their first point went.
Frost couldn't dodge the rockets fast enough. The barrage being dropped down from above. Multi-man kill for Unfixed. Going to make sure CIS Hope are entrenching this payload even further.
That's both of the barrages coming out of Unfixed now being completely ignored by Brewston. And again, I can sympathize with the dive focus. You're trying to bring down key targets. You've got to worry about the damage being returned to you because right now they're paying very little heed to Unfixed and his Pharah.
And he is getting damage out. Even if he's not getting the kill, he's guaranteeing that your dive threat is significantly reduced if you can just turn around and kill them with ease. Horvik's been sitting on this blade for a while now. He needs to find the right time to pop it. Kenzie takes out Fat. He can't resurrect that if he's the one who's going down. He's just cowering inside the castle, looking for interesting avenues to come out behind CIS Hope.
And this is the story generally of the comp that CIS Hope are playing. They're looking to find either a pick with the Widow or enough that Unfixed gets a couple of direct rockets down onto a key target. The dive tanks go in, with the Discord on, they die, end of story.
Right, Brewston was paying a little bit more attention to Unfixed, but it doesn't matter because Horvik already taking out Kenzie on the back line. One and done with that blade.
That threat of the Widowmaker being gone means they can focus solely on Unfixed, but no, not enough attention being given because Scalar's now getting dropped by him.
And there's a Foul Mercy pocket. It's really hard to just send one asset to try and kill them. You can see Malzahar even getting involved now and going incredibly low. Has to use that Guardian Angel, but they got a little bit of respite from the self-destruct. Horvik can't go out everywhere. Venomine, not enough to fight through the healing he was given from Scalar.
Just constant fights back from CIS Hope here. 1Point barely even made a push. In fact, the only time they've looked even moderately in with a chance is when they managed to commit that whole Genji blade into bringing down the whole Genji blade to bring down just the Widow. They didn't even manage to pick anyone else up off that whole play. That was what the dive comp was building up to the whole time, and it fell completely flat. They're now left with 2 minutes, which is still a considerable amount of time, but this is when you start thinking about changing things up, and rightly so, they're bringing out the Widowmaker.
Well, Horvik's first attempt at taking out that Widow in the direct matchup was unsuccessful. Kenzie had his number straight away. Now he's been resurrected, going to move around with the rest of his team. 1Point are being very patient with their movements, even though they've only got 1 minute 30 left on the clock. You've got the barrage in favor of Unfixed. Shark's got a Primal Rage. I don't think they're too worried about that for now, but I think they really need to start paying some more attention to Unfixed. Kenzie lining up the shots. Looking for someone to peek through the corner. Still getting irritated. Here comes Malzahar with a dive. Interrupted in the air. Pop the Primal Rage. Starts throwing those fists. But he's miles away from the target he wants. And the Discord Orb's going to make sure he'll go down relatively quickly if he stays on. But he found Unfixed. Don't know where his support was. Aang should have been with him at that moment in time. And already, 1Point get a slight advantage, but they've not been able to progress any further because it's starting to be turned around by CIS Hope.
Mainly the 1v1 onto Frost there as well, shutting him down before he can make anything happen. The res onto Unfixed means that Horvik is now gone. This attack should be shut down again here by CIS.
Using Transcendence to back up the rest of the team. Look how far Kenzie's playing back. They've conceded control of the payload because they are missing one of their tanks, I believe. So they're going to let them move up a little bit further. But with 30 seconds on the clock, they've only got a couple more fights in the bag. Diving in onto the back line. Nice defense matrix. Throws out the sticky, and Main's going to get taken out. So 1Point now have to capitalize on this, but Aang has made sure the window was so finite, it was negligible. Kenzie going to get the D-Mech. Chow getting a kill onto Scalar. And Unfixed switching it up onto the Hanzo to get himself on the ground. It's going to be Main who finds Malzahar after a nice burst of damage from the Hanzo.
Just managing to make this look pretty easy right now, CIS Hope. 1Point really struggling with these dives. It's not looking as in sync as what we would have expected out of these guys given their previous play. And Kenzie missing a very crucial shot there. That might be the window, but nope, there is Unfixed on the Hanzo and he's cleaning up.
And Kenzie manages to find Fat as he jumps onto the payload. The overtime is going to tick down. They're just throwing bodies at the point. 1Point aren't going to be able to get this any further because CIS Hope have put on a masterclass defense at point B.
They absolutely have, and to be honest with you, one message out to Bruce, and remember that the defense matrix exists. I barely saw him using that even during dives, yet with Chow at key moments, keeping that defense matrix on his supports to make sure Frost was doing nothing, he had his number all round. It just felt that CIS Hope had a direct response to each member of 1Point and made sure they were never able to get this dive comp rolling beyond the first point.
1Point may have given themselves a lesson on how to defend the second stage of Eichenwald. CIS Hope, they were the teachers though. Surely they're going to know how to break through it if a similar composition comes at them. What I am interested to see is whether CIS Hope can replicate the very rapid point A take that 1Point were able to use. Will they fall into the same trap? or will this be a little bit more stagnated on the first point?
They're not rolling with dive by the looks of it. As it stands, they're going to roll out with a good old 3-3, I imagine. Depends what Kenzie opts towards as well. We've still got time to see what they choose to go out with. It's OnePoint whose comp I'm the most interested in right now because, to be honest with you, rolling the 3-3, they know they're going to lose. If they commit to holding the first point with the 3-3, CIS Hope are going to switch to match that comp as soon as they scout it out and completely crush them in a head-on fight. So this is, again, where we might see that weakness of OnePoint tested a bit, where we know they're a tank-heavy team, and now they need to find a response. And we already mentioned this. CIS Hope are the experienced veterans. They're the guys with planning. They've said we don't need a coach to tell us about our strategies. We think we've got that down. And with how this has been going so far, it's hard to disagree.
Varying from the 3-3 composition, it looks like for CIS Hope. Unfixed may opt to still stick on that Pharah, because you can see Main eyeing up the Mercy to go with it. So
if you didn't take Mercy with Pharah, that would be suicide.
Depends how good. Well, Unfixed, he was relatively untouched last round anyway. They basically ignored him for a lot of the first point defense. So it wouldn't surprise me if you have the confidence or maybe the arrogance to try and pull that off. But I think the safer bet here is to go with the combo.
Okay.
But they're going to go fall back to the 3-3 again. Why not? They're running it into Hanzo and Tracer. So Frost is going to be forward, Horfix is going to be mid-range, and the dive tanks to back them all up.
I would love to see Horfix switch over to playing the Pharah as soon as they scout this comp out and they're aware, right, there is no real big threat here. Yesterday we saw it coming out of a couple of teams where it was all about the Diva and the coalescence from Moira to shut down a Pharah. As it stands, they're standing on the Hanzo, though. They
speed right past Malzaza. They're having none of his monkey business
special
today. Going for the old loop around, waiting for the amp up to come back, and they're going to emerge onto the point. They have given OnePoint a lot of time to adapt, and look at the high ground position they want to hold. Makes it difficult to get on there, but they are conceding territory, and it's going to be a fight to make sure they get onto that capture point. Sharek already taking out Fat and Scalar. How is a Reinhardt taking out your backline? Something must be severely wrong with what's going on in OnePoint defense. Horfix going low, having to dip set out of there as the rest of CIS Hope. Going to do it in slower fashion, but not as less dominant.
I find it really impressive how they basically ignored Horfix for the whole of that as well. He was set up on the high ground alongside his Diva, but wasn't able to make enough of an impact to shut this down. And in response to your question about how on earth a main tank got onto both supports in the backline of Reinhardt, no less, it was all thanks to Eng on that Lucio.
Just the mobility. The little DJ is able to output for his team.
And Kenzie just stunning him up and going, hey, free support, swing away.
It enables Sharek so much. We talk about how he's a big Reinhardt player, but we can't understate the amount of resources that CIS Hope put into him to enable him to be that dominant and oppressive Reinhardt. And it's evident there through the speed boost being used and the Lucio pickup for CIS Hope.
Rolling now over to the triple DPS themselves on the second point. I'm not sure I'm too much of a fan of this. Yes, there's a lot of vertical ground that you can capitalize on. Biggest problem is, you know, CIS Hope are just going to steamroll this point.
Look at the change of focus. Main pulling out the Coalescence, going straight for Brucen, not allowing him the freedom that we saw from Unfixed. And now the ground war looking to be won by CIS Hope. Warpic did get the kill onto Main while he's busy looking to the skies, and now Brucen, without the attention being paid to him, is able to rain down these rockets from above. Because there's so much pressure coming from other angles for CIS Hope, they're not able to make that choice to go for him in the first place. OnePoint shut down the momentum from CIS Hope.
May have been able to ignore them last time around. This time, definitely not. And CIS Hopes, their response is to go for the quad tank Kenzie on that Roadhog. We saw this guy last season. That was his big counter to anything aerial. Thing is, there's a huge open skybox here for Bruce to have a bit of a play around in. It's going to be hard work shutting him down. They're going to have to commit a lot.
Oh, look at the defense matrix. Brucen completely called out there by Chow. Fantastic use of his abilities, negating him entirely. Pulsebom's going to go into the middle of the fight. Malzaza trying to do the car wash, but going to have to bop out of there as Fat's going to follow him. Dragons being sent straight into the floor. Here comes the Graviton Surge to pull them together. There's a charge. It goes straight onto Scalar. He's the unfortunate soul who gets pinned up. And the rest of CIS Hope are going to get this payload moving, and they've got Sharek's Earth Shatter to deal with it. Horfix got a few words to say, though. Storm Arrow takes out Unfixed and Main. Sharek's going to shut him down, but the momentum is still rolling for CIS Hope.
It's bizarre that Horfix can land these kind of picks, yet CIS Hope is still paying him very little heat. They're like, we don't need this. We can just focus on pushing the point and picking out these members who are the ones stopping us from pushing
the hook.
There's the hook.
Kenzie unable to finish it off. The pocket from Fat going to keep him up. The Shatter drops down. Scalar takes out Sharek. OnePoint might be able to turn this around. Kenzie's got the whole hog on the go. Defense Matrix to back him up from Chow, playing very much a team-centric Diva this time around. Barrage stay into him. Self-destruct's gone to the back. The bubble comes down to protect him. Still will take out Brucen. They still managed to find Eng. And Frost jumping around the point. OnePoint have flipped it down, stopped it with less than a meter to go.
There are very few Pharah players in Contenders, I think, who I don't want to go to their keyboards and remove that Q key, because a lot of the times it's guaranteeing death. Yes, you might get one kill, but when you're in a last-ditch defense like this with only a few meters to go, the last thing you want is to go in a one-for-one trade, because it just gives the advantage over to CIS Hope. They now find themselves in the situation where, yes, Brucean is doing fantastic work playing on the Pharah. Horthick has switched over to go and play on the Diva, mind you, so a lot of rotation of roles coming through for this team right now.
That's a flexibility being demonstrated by One.PoinT, which is matching up to what the top teams in Group B can do. But it needs to pay them a lot more dividends, because unfortunately they've got 2 minutes to push a fractional distance. Frost going to find Main on the back line, got a pulse bomb in his pocket, ready to go, and already you can see Sharrett going very low as he switches over to the Winston, wants a bit more mobility. Frost's going to gap down Unfixed, and Horfix is following up with the kill on Chow, and that's going to bring Scalar back. But One.PoinT still got a firm grip on this point. It's not as over as we think it is, Des.
I feel like it took them a bit of time to really adapt and find an answer to what CIS Hope were bringing out, but once they got there, they now find themselves in a good situation. I was about to say the Flying Kenzie, fear him most. CIS Hope are doing what they do best, so they're rotating their comp around, they're playing on that Widow dive. If Kenzie gets an opening pick, it can be game over for One.PoinT.
Fighting over the high ground, Brucean can get out there very easily with the Jets. Look at the ultimates for One.PoinT though. They got the self-destruct, the Transcendence, and also the barrage from Brucean. There's one being sent back. It's not going to find anyone as Kenzie takes Horfik out while he's DMEC. Brucean's getting into position. He might have to fight through a lot of shields here if it's going to be deployed. It's straight into the defense matrix. Chow read him like a book, and Main's there to pick up the kill. Chow has been absolutely incredible at tracking Bruce in this game, and he's taking out Frost just to add insult to industry. Up comes the DPS, but unfortunately, Horfix not able to get in position to stop out the CIS train.
This is one of those things where we speak about teams and say you really see strength coming out of them when they can adapt playstyle with the same picks. And straight away there, Dive generally picks out a single target and kills them. You actually had every single member of CIS Hope operating as individual agents there in a way. Getting down that pulse bomb onto Scalar was huge because it forced out that trans ridiculously early. Bruce and burnt a whole ultimate. Once again, get rid of that Q key, my friend. Burn it straight into a defense matrix. He died. Fight was over. Well fought by CIS Hope. One.PoinT a bit uncoordinated when these changes come at them thick and fast.
We said that CIS Hope weren't really paying the Pharah much attention. I think they were. They were just being selective about what action they paid. It wasn't a case of they needed to dive up and be aware of them. It's just, let's shield our team, let's keep them okay, and when the ult comes in, let's get Chow in position for a big cleanup. We're going to throw it over to our analysts, though, to see what they thought of the first half of this series.